Well, Christmas is officially behind us now, and we're into the weekend and heading towards New Year's. I was waxing nostalgic, I think, this morning, and it's still pretty early here. I haven't even gone to wake up the dogs yet. They're still sleeping. But I was thinking about this channel and kind of how everything, I'm going to turn this a little bit, how all of this began for me these many months ago. And a lot of people have jumped in here, and there's been questions and stuff about it and different things. And I just thought I would go back and reflect on the very first thing that brought me here. We had finished Phil Collins's Not Dead Yet tour. And I had some bass players writing to me saying, you know, we saw you in South America, or we saw you in Europe, and you guys were amazing. We saw you were playing big stadiums and all that. And they said, you know, our front of house guy, Michel Collin, is an incredible house mixer, and he can make really pretty much any room sound pretty fabulous. But when you're playing these giant venues, there's a certain challenge to clarity, especially with bass. So these guys were writing to me going, you know, we saw the show and it was amazing, but we couldn't hear all the details of the bass parts on everything. And so I sort of gave it some thought, and I'm always perusing YouTube and looking at different things and different guys' channels and all that. And I thought, well, I contacted Michel and had him send me our show from Adelaide, Australia, that we had done. And I thought, what I'll do is I'll put up the show one song at a time. I'll start with the first song in the show and just go through the show. And I set up a little Bose speaker that I plugged into my laptop here. And I've got my little amp sitting down here on the floor next to me. And I thought what I'd do is I would experiment with the mix a bit so that you could hear the track, but that the bass part, instead of being in the track where it would normally be, was sitting on top of the track, just to show the parts in more detail. And so I put up the first tune, then the second day I did the second tune, and then the third day I did the third tune, and so on. But by the third day, I had people starting to write to me going, oh, we love your YouTube channel. And I was going, what are you talking about? What YouTube channel? And they said, oh, the stuff you're putting up, you know, with Phil Collins. I said, that's not a channel. I'm just demonstrating a couple of, I mean, I had really no clue how one of these things evolve at all. And so all of a sudden, it was starting to take on a whole different thing from what my expectation was. I really had no idea that this was going to be a channel. You know, it was really strictly just to show some bass parts on some songs for guys to check out a little more detail work. And as it went on and on, it got more and more involved. And as I neared the end of Phil's show, now, the only song I haven't done from that show is Take Me Home. I figure when I breathe my last breath and I do my last video, I'll do Take Me Home, because that really is kind of the end of everything right there. But as I was getting towards the end of it, I sort of thought, well, now what should I do? Because this show is about over. And so I started digging into Toto and Jackson Browne, and I thought, well, I'll just kind of do this with lots of songs that I've played on, not just the Phil stuff, even though I went back and dug Phil stuff up that wasn't even in this show, and there's still more Phil songs to do. It became kind of, became driven by this. I was enjoying it. I was having fun going back and digging up old songs that I hadn't played in 20, 30, 40, almost 50 years. And kind of trying to remember, you know, what was going on, starting to do some archival work and seeing who was on the sessions as best as I could remember what went on during these dates when you're suddenly thinking, God, we're at Sun West doing I Am Woman with Helen Reddy. And, you know, and all these things were coming back to me. And the chair never got oiled. It's still Some things will never end. But I became kind of driven by this whole thing, and then the community that was starting to evolve around this, I found absolutely fascinating and endearing. Because we hit a profoundly difficult time in human history, and certainly in our history. I mean, I found myself one day, like so many musicians, looking at a ton of work ahead of me for a year, and then in an instant, suddenly that year evaporated into nothing. And I thought, well, what the hell am I going to do now? I mean, there's no work. I mean, it's not so much even no income. The income just comes with working, and the thing that my passion is working. And I love playing live. I love playing in the studio. I love the camaraderie of musicians. Our band, The Immediate Family, had so many things lined up. We were starting to get the tour booked, had gigs lined up. The new album was done, and we were going to be releasing that. And all this stuff just suddenly went completely gone. And but I'm not the kind of person that sits around easily. So I started looking at things to do, and this became one of those things to do. Was, well, let me do these demonstrations, kind of show some parts and things like that. And during the course of this whole year, it's really evolved into a remarkable community. And I am forever grateful for all the people that have come and joined up here. And the clubhouse was another aspect of it that kind of grew out of the channel. And the hang there for me has been one of the best parts of this entire pandemic, was just sitting there with people from all over the world, talking to each other, hanging out and sharing. And to me, it's a remarkable thing. It's a remarkable time for technology from the standpoint of being able to communicate. This would have been an absolute nightmare to be in lockdown and have maybe at best a telephone to call somebody, but to actually be able to really communicate in real time with lots of people, to do Zooms and see people, and all of this stuff helps make a really terrible time a little more tolerable, that's for sure. So I'm thrilled with the community, and then having the gift shop and all these things with, T-shirts and pictures and all. And then people have been on me for years to do a book, because they would, so many people have, and this is in such good nature. Some people find this profoundly offensive, and I feel bad for that. Is the finger book. This was a complete accident, and I've told the story in there, and I tell the story in the book how the finger thing got started, because I wasn't one of those people that was running around going oh all the time. It just happened on our 2004 tour, and it's evolved over the years to where people kept writing to me and seeing me at the NAMM shows and stuff, going, man, you ever going to do a book? You ever going to do a book? Man, I want to see a book of this stuff. And having the time now to do this with so little else for distractions, and meeting the right guy with Blue, that we were able to put it together. And I'm really incredibly proud of how it turned out, and people seem to be enjoying that. And I've never had a website in my life. People would always say, man, what's your website? I go, I don't have one. I've never thought of it. Suddenly to have a website that's got a book and T-shirts with my beard on them, and my artwork, prints and things. I mean, this has just been absolutely a unique experience, to say the least. I'm so anxious, like every other musician I know, for this to be brought under control to the point where we can start gigging again. We can get the Immediate Family can get our album released. The documentary can be finished. That's Denny Tedesco's doing. I mean, there's so many things that are like circling the airport, waiting for clearance to land. And I think it's in on the horizon. Oh God! Don't do this. Oh God, please, please. One thing hasn't changed this year is I'm actually kind of savvy technically, but you know, it starts the timeout and you go to touch, you know, just to kind of refresh the screen and suddenly it starts playing here. So you can count on me not getting much better than this. The one thing I haven't devoted time to is getting my crap together for this world. But so I mean, the thing is that this is for me has been a lifesaver this year, having been able to look forward every day to posting another video and saying hi. And I sit every night and I read all the responses that come in, and there's so many people that it's really great when they're talking to each other. And that to me is the essence of community, that we do have a connection during a period where we're physically not able to be together, or just geographic distance would make it impossible. So I was thinking about all this stuff, you know, and I kind of thought, I'm just going to go back and visit the first song I did that started this entire thing. I want to thank Rick Beato, because when we did our interview, that kind of kicked this network in the butt. And hopefully Rick and I have talked about doing another interview together. I so appreciate his channel. He's a remarkable man in terms of education and knowledge and thoughts that he brings out. And other friends of mine, Tim Pierce is a dear friend and compatriot in this adventure of music, and I love his channel. And so it's been an education for me to be watching all these other people's channels, and kind of not so much, you know, wanting to do what they've done, but just appreciating what they've done. I don't think my channel is going to stay kind of low tech the way it is. The only thing that will change on it is when the time comes that we can start gigging again. And I've said this before, that I'm going to take the channel on the road. And when we're doing gigs, I'll be filming at the gigs, and maybe we'll do some live streams from the gigs, and I can introduce you to the other players that I work with in the studio and on the road, and just make this more broadening the perspective and horizon on this. But none of that's going to happen until it's safe. And the paramount thing right now is to be safe, because this is a deadly disease that's taking place. I mean, the numbers are staggering in Los Angeles, what's going on. And I would never want to do anything that would put anybody in harm's way. That's why we canceled the book signing. That I had this big planned book signing at LA Vintage Gear for like a month ago, and we just said, no, we can't do this. This is crazy. There's way too many people that potentially could be hurt by this, and so we're going to wait till we get more of an okay to have some events like that. But for the moment, I really, this is just a thank you to everybody who's come and joined this channel and comes back here all the time and shares their experiences with me. Because to me, this is a two-way street. I love reading what you guys have to say, and it's so appreciated. And I never thought this would be happening. But you know, as the old adage goes, you take a lemon and you make lemonade. And as much terrible things have happened during this period and are still happening, you always try to find a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, just to have some positive energy to go towards, rather than getting completely consumed by how bad things are. And because I look towards the future for being better, it only breaks my heart that there's a lot of people who will not see the future, who have succumbed to this, and families that are suffering. And I know people right now I've known people that have died, and I know people that are in harm's way personally, and it just breaks my heart. So, but I thought this was a perfect song this was the song that kicked off this entire channel, and I thought I would just play along with it again, see if I still have any chops left at this point, because not playing hard and out with everybody, and especially these last weeks of almost no playing, because I've been so focused on trying to fulfill orders for books and things. I was trying to get them out for holidays, and they arrived late in the post office and all the things that have gone on. So I'm still slamming it and doing it, but I just wanted to get in here and play. God, it's cold in this room. Here, my house is really cold right now. I can deal. I love cold. You know, I wear t-shirts when it's still 40 out, but my hands suffer for it. Not in an arthritic way. I just don't like it. But let's go ahead. This was the first song of our show with Phil Collins on the Not Dead Yet tour, and this show was from Adelaide, Australia, and it is called Against All Odds. So here we go. Let's get this going here.
All right, so. How can I just let you walk away? Just let you leave without a trace. When I stand here taking every breath with you. You're the only one who really knows me at all. How can you just walk away from me when all I can do is watch you leave? 'Cause we've shared laughter and love, and shared that too. You're the only one who really knows me at all. So take a look at me now, 'cause there's just empty space, and there's nothing left here to remind me, just a memory of your face. Just take a look at me now, 'cause there's just empty space, and you coming back to me is against all odds. It's what I've got to face. I wish I could just make you turn around and see me cry. There's so much I need to say to you, so many reasons why. You're the only one who really knows me at all. Take a look at me now, 'cause there's just empty space, and there's nothing left here to remind me, just a memory of your face. Just take a look at me now, 'cause there's just empty space. But I'll wait for you, that's all I can do, that's what I've got to face. Just take a look at me now, 'cause I'll still be standing here. You coming back to me is against all odds. That's a chance I've got to take. Just take a look at me now.
Now, one of the things was when I was doing this, I was playing the bass much louder then I would have played it, then you would have heard it in the show. So this was to show parts, because I had a lot of people writing later on that didn't understand why I was doing this channel, saying, boy, the bass is pretty loud on that, or could you turn up the track a little bit? But the essence of this whole thing was, and how it all began, was to show bass parts on songs. So there are a lot of times when I'm listening to this, I'm going, yeah, I mean, of course, I'd rather listen to the bass tucked in to the track where it would normally sonically be heard. But this was more of almost like a tutorial in the beginning, and then it's just continued that way. But more than anything, it was just kind of fun just to think, how did this really all begin? Because it's become such a part of my life. Every day I think about this. This is one of the main things I look forward to every day. And I'm glad that everybody, said, oh, you don't have to necessarily play every day. You could play songs that you've worked on. It's really cool. And so that freed me up a little bit, because there's a lot of songs that I worked on. Like if I did No Other again, Gene Clark, I've got like 6 basses on that track, and it's like the thing that drives the whole track. And there's no way I could sit here and replicate that, because that was a real big studio project. And there's so many songs like that where you kind of go, that moment in time was perfect, and I really don't want to go mess with it, but I sure would like to hear it again. So I'm going to wish everybody a really, let's set this rascal down here, shut off the amp. I'm going to wish everybody a great weekend as best you can, as best you possibly can. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family and your friends. Be safe. I'm worried about all the travel coming up between Christmas travel that people did and New Year's travel, because it was a big spike after Thanksgiving, and I can't imagine what this is going to be. But hospitals and care workers they are at the max. They're not getting a moment's rest throughout all of this stuff. So I so appreciate what they do every day. And like I said before too, there's so many jobs where people can't just, sequester themselves and stay safe. When I go into the grocery store, do a really quick run through and get what I need, and I'm looking at the people working behind the counters, and they're there all day long. They've got to deal with people and people that are incredibly responsible and people that are idiots. It's a really tough thing. My sister-in-law works for the post office, and she's on her feet like behind a window like 10 hours a day dealing with the public, and it's scary. It scares me to death for her. They're doing all they can, but when I see the mailman, and I see the trash people, I see public workers out, people that are working, doing, even though the restaurants are all closed now, the people that are even just taking care of getting the food out to you when you're doing curbside, but certainly the people that are working in healthcare, teachers. Some teachers are still going in. It's not all remote, and it's a very frightening time, and something I certainly never thought I'd see in my lifetime, and I've been around a long time. But my fingers are crossed that there will be more vaccines on the horizon, that these vaccines do the job that they're being touted to do, and that we can get the major bulk of population treated, so that we can start to have some semblance of what the world was a year ago. It'll never be the same. Too many things have changed. Few things maybe for the positive, but a lot of things for the negative, and that's going to have to be addressed. So at this point, the most important thing is just to stay safe and stay well. And my heart's with you every day. I'm so appreciative of comments, of friendships that have evolved here, of support and kindness that I've seen, and it's a remarkable journey. And I'm glad we're all on this together. So you take good care. I am going to go down and wake up the puppies and get them some breakfast. And then I'm going to sit here for a while and print some more labels and get some more stuff out there, and it's back into my Groundhog Day routine here. But I'm grateful that most of everything that I need to be doing, I can do pretty much on my own, and not having to put myself in harm's way. So take good care. My heart's with all of you, and I will see you tomorrow. Just because it's Sunday doesn't mean I'm not going to be here.